everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night, whenever it is that you're listening to this. Welcome to the Orchids Podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Orchids Podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. I've missed this for a little bit just because, I was doing some other stuff here and there, but I'm so glad to be back. I hope that you guys are all doing super well, that you've been resting, that you've been taking every day step by step as best you can. I'm very grateful that you're here again. So thanks, guys. Just to get right into it, because I'm actually excited about this message, which I feel like I say that all the time, but I get excited about these things. So we're just going to first read the little passage that I have for you, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about it. So this episode, as you can tell, is about the Beatitudes, which is something so special and near to my heart. So we're going to read first for those who don't know what it is, and even for those who do, if you need a refresher. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit. So if you flip with me to Matthew 5, 3 to 12, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 3 to 12. And it's the beginning of Jesus's Sermon on the Mount. So I'm just going to read it. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness' sake, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you, when people insult you and persecute you, and say all kinds of false and evil things against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. I don't know. Something about this is very special to me. Because Jesus starts off the sermon in exaltation. So basically, this is a part of Jesus's bigger sermon, which was called the Sermon on the Mount, which was obviously given on a high place on a mountaintop. And he starts off, and it's with the Beatitudes, which the word Beatitude basically just means supreme blessing or exaltation. And the rest of the sermon is also very special. I 1,000% recommend that you read it. I read it over and over again because it's something. I can guarantee there is something in there for you if you are reading it. But basically, this sermon has a bunch of little chunks, and it is so filled with God's love and grace and mercy. And basically, in following these teachings, you have space, or you have the ability to lead such a beautiful and quiet and peaceful life, basically the way that God wants you to follow in Jesus's teachings. And that's why it's probably, like, a lot of people say that it's the greatest sermon ever given. And I'm not here to disagree, absolutely not. But I think this part is really special first because, again, it starts off with exaltation, with blessed are, right? And this is so beautiful, first of all, for the God and the creator of the universe to say, you are blessed and I love you so much. I think that is, I don't, like, as like a little child of God, I'm like, that's so sweet, that's adorable. But if you really think about it, he's here to uplift, right? To start off with a message of hope, and after he obviously follows up with a lot of other messages. But the main thing here, for me especially, is that if you pay close attention to the words that he is saying, it may seem a little bit like almost like the opposite of what everybody else was saying at, like, not even just now, at the time. I'm sure it was very shocking to hear, blessed are the poor in spirit, you know. And for somebody who was saying that he's the Messiah, I mean, obviously not just saying because he is, but I want you to picture it at the time of when this was happening. For somebody who is proclaiming that they are the Messiah, first of all, there's already the barrier of he is not what anybody expects that he is. And so already facing that, he comes, and instead of, you know, him praising the leaders of the time, or praising, you know, the things that they expected, he says, blessed are the poor in spirit. He says things like, blessed are those who mourn. He doesn't say things, you know, like blessed are the rich, and blessed are those who tithe, and blessed are those who follow every single command the way that you. He doesn't say any of that. He doesn't say blessed are the leaders and those who persecute you. No, he said blessed are you for being persecuted, you know? It is completely the opposite of what people expected him to say, which is again why this was probably very shocking for most people, and B, why it's so beautiful to read and take in and listen to. Me personally, I had a like what they called world religions teacher for those who had that in high school. But he was so passionate and such a devoted Christian, and he made us memorize the Beatitudes, and he made us recite them every day before class. And at the end of like a week or so, after we've been reciting this all the time, he made a clear point, and he asked, what do you think that Jesus meant by this? Who do you think that these people are? And obviously we all had different answers as to who these people could be. But basically he said, these are the children of God. These are God's people. And so think of this as directions to how to find Jesus when you're out in this world. So basically, you can either look for these group of people, because this is a group of people that Jesus is highlighting here. Look for these group of people, or try to be like these group of people. You know, remember that we are not better than anybody else. We are not, you know, higher up than anybody else just because of, you know, certain status that you might have or certain privileges that you might have. We all are or have been these people. And so the way that he basically said it, my teacher, is that Jesus gives us these not just for comfort, but for direction specifically. Where can I find the kingdom of heaven? Well, it's right here in these verses, right? Should we ever desire to feel Jesus' presence, to feel or to work out his teaching, to be the light that he has called us to be, seek this, seek to help this or to be like this. But look specifically at this, and he will be there, right? He exalts these people that the world rejects, and he honors those who in some way in their life in this way have honored him, right? And the thing that we have to remember was Jesus was not, you know, up on his high horse saying, oh, well, you know, blessed are these poor people, for they, you know, Jesus was kind of like these people, right? Jesus came down to experience every little part of humanity that we've experienced. And so when he says, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted, he mourned. You know, blessed are the meek. You know, in many ways, he was meek. Blessed are the merciful. Oh, I have told you so many times how merciful the Lord is, right? Blessed are the peacemakers. He's the Prince of Peace, right? Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, and that is exactly why he died, right? For righteousness' sake. So this, not only is he exalting those who people were putting down, but he was saying, I know what you feel like, you know? Because maybe there was people like this in the crowd that were listening to him. Maybe there were people who were persecuted or felt that they were meek or were mourning and deeply hurt. Imagine that these people were watching him. They were in the crowd looking up to him, looking for some sort of hope. And he doesn't reject them. He says, blessed are you. And not only are you blessed, but I know exactly what it feels like to be you. You know, I know what the experience is like. I know what you're feeling, and I'm telling you, I can save you. And the Father is listening to your cries. He's here to comfort you, to help you, to love you. So this is just such a beautiful little way of God saying, I hear you. I see you. You are loved and you are valued. So basically, this is a message of hope and a message of peace for God's children, for God's beloved. But I want to go specifically into these verses that may not be so clear for some people. So blessed are the poor in spirit. And you may be asking, what is to be poor in spirit, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean perhaps the way that we interpret it, but poor in spirit basically means those who are humbled in their spirit, those who know that in order for their spirit to thrive, to be filled, to be completely fulfilled, they need to seek God. They need to seek his presence constantly. And so when it means poor in spirit, it literally means, to acknowledge that I am not wealthy if it isn't for God. I'm not fulfilled if it's not for God's spirit, if it's not for God breathing his breath into me. And so that humility and that kind of simpleness, to not be boastful or prideful, but to know that if it weren't for God, I would not be here. I could not be anywhere. And it says in 1 Thessalonians 5:19, I believe, 5:19, that you should not quench the spirit. So in a sense, you should hunger, you should thirst, you should be poor in spirit, because you should never feel, I don't want to say you should never feel satisfied, but in a way you should always desire more, especially when it comes to seeking God, to knowing him, to having that relationship with him. You should never quench that. You should never, say, okay, that's enough. I've had enough. I don't need any more. There should always be that desire, that need to seek more, to know more, to love more. So that's the way that I interpret it. And then it says, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. No explanation needed, but I just want to say that is so beautiful, because it's not in the happy moments, right, that he's saying, blessed are you who are always, joyful and having a smile on your face no matter what. That is a good thing, and I'm glad if that's your life, if that's how it is, but usually it's not. And he's saying, even when you're in troubles, I'm here, I'm with you, I hear you, you'll be comforted. There is comfort for you. You're not alone. But the one I also wanted to highlight was blessed are the meek. So meek is generally someone who is, again, a bit more humble, slow to speak, not overly boastful, not overly confident, or someone who is more simple. I don't want to say that word, but basically somebody who is more slow to speak, who listens, who takes their time with the things of the spirit and perhaps how they approach their relationships. So blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. So it's not the prideful. It's not the person who has everything. It's not the super, the super rich guy. It's not going to be no, he's saying those who are quiet, those who are submissive, those who are humble and modest, you will inherit the earth, and you have a part in my kingdom, because that is what he seeks out of his followers, right? He wants us to be humble and modest, not to be quiet when it comes to talking about your faith or when it comes to speaking those truths. It's not about being quiet and never speaking. It's about knowing when to speak. It's about knowing when you truly need to speak truth and the truth of Jesus, and when you feel like you just want to speak because you want your voice to be heard and you want to be right. It's not about being right most of the time. It's not about you showing that you're correct and you have all this knowledge. It's about taking a step back and being able to select, which battles you're going to fight. Select when is it, okay, now I know that this person needs to hear the truth about God. And you know what? Even if it's difficult for them to hear, I'm going to say it. So I think that's really important for us to always keep in mind, is it's not the person who feels that they have everything that is the ultimate, I guess, leader or the super Christian, like people say. It's usually the people who are a lot simpler in their hearts. And honestly, the rest are pretty self-explanatory. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, those who desire deeply to see God's will done on this earth, those who want to see his justice brought to this earth, people who want to, spread the gospel and tell everybody the truth so that they may be saved. Those are the people who just hunger and thirst for righteousness. And those are the people who should also never quench the spirit, always have that hunger and that thirst, right? Because it will be filled. Because when you have a deep desire to do God's will, when you have a deep desire to serve his people, to serve him above all things, best believe he's going to help you accomplish that. And the spirit will always be there backing you up when your heart is pure and it's filled with that deep desire. And blessed are those who are merciful, they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God, and the peacemakers, and those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. I think those are pretty self-explanatory. Again, the peacemakers is really important, because it's not always about, remember it says, it's not about fighting the flesh. It's about fighting the principalities. It's about praying about it. It's about trying to bring people to Jesus, even when it's difficult sometimes to deal with certain people. May you always have that heart for mercy and love in that way. And again, this is really special because all of these in this, I guess it's like a little square. It is the people who were, in a way, at the bottom of the food chain, right? And later on in Matthew, pretty sure it's Matthew 23. In Matthew 23:11, when Jesus said, "The least of you will be the greatest." This was kind of like a precursor to that, where he was saying, the people who are less status, the people who are, poor, hungry, thirsting, needing me the most, those are the people that I came for. And those are the people that will be greatest when it comes to the kingdom of heaven. These are the people that I'm going to help, and these are the people that I'm going to exalt. So he says, the least of you, the least among you will be the greatest, right? Your servant will be greater than the master. And so always, I feel, for me, I always keep that in mind when reading this kind of thing, or when going about my day, and maybe the way that I want to portray myself, or maybe the way that I want to reflect Jesus' teaching, right? Because I think sometimes we, or I'll speak for myself, get maybe a little bit carried away with all the teaching and trying to teach people and get people to understand. And maybe we get a little bit boastful in the sense that, oh, I know everything and I'm trying to help somebody. Well, yes, you are trying to help somebody, but the best way to go about it is to reflect Jesus. And here we can see exactly what Jesus was trying to get us to be. He was trying to get us to be kind. He wanted us to be humble and modest in our hearts when we went to teach people. He wanted us to serve people and put them before us. This is the same sermon where he says, love your enemies, which was also a completely radical idea, right? Because before this, it was an eye for an eye. Why would I love my enemy? They're the enemy, right? I shouldn't be praying for them. I should ask God to slay them. And Jesus comes in and says, no, I want you to love them no matter what. And yes, they may hurt you. They may persecute you. They may even kill you the way that you're about to do to me. But I still want you to love them because I love them, because they're still my children, right? So I feel that going about your journey or your walk with Christ, trying to share your testimony, trying to share the gospel and share the word, it's really important to have a heart posture of serving people and serving this specific group of people, because they are also part of the kingdom. And for those of you who feel or deeply connect with this group of people, and you feel that maybe you are one of them, maybe you're upset about something, maybe you are the one who mourns and needs comforting, right? Maybe you are the person who's a little bit meek and slow to speak in some ways, which is great, by the way, clearly. If you feel that this is you, and for some reason you feel that, or somebody told you that there is not a place in God's kingdom for you, this right here, and I'm here to tell you that it's not true. Because God is, and Jesus is trying to tell you that his door is not only open for you, not only that he loves you, which he does dearly, but that you have a place at his table, right? Even though the world will try to tell you that you're not worth it, or that you're not enough, or that you need to do more, or that you need to be different so that God will accept you, God is telling you that he accepts you, especially under these conditions, right? Because sometimes what the world sees isn't what God sees. When you have a pure and beautiful heart that desires to seek him, a lot of the times the world is going to tell you that that's weird. Like, why is it always Jesus, Jesus? Like, why are you always so happy about these things? Why are you always trying to share the gospel? See, the world is going to tell you that that's weird, right? But when you have a pure and humble heart that just wants and thirsts for God, God doesn't see that as weird. Trust. God is so happy and proud that his daughter or his son has this heart for him and is seeking him. So that doesn't just apply to those things, but sometimes the world will make you feel that you are not enough. And this right here, first of all, this entire sermon, please go read it, actually. But this part right here, he's telling you, you have a seat at my table because you are my children, because I love you, because I want to spend eternity with you, because I want you to serve me, and I want to pour out my love onto you. So this is not for you to feel lonely or to feel left out or to feel pushed away, but this is actually to tell you that the creator of the universe loves you so much that he has it in writing. Isn't that amazing? So I hope that you can all, or that we can all, take time to actually read it and appreciate that, because I think that that's so beautiful. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. And that is what keeps me going. I don't know about you. That is what keeps me going every time I'm a little bit scared. Every time I don't feel like doing this episode. Every time I kind of, rejoice, because soon enough, I will be with my Father in heaven. So, I know this was a little bit shorter than usual, but I felt that I really wanted to share that with you, because that piece, first of all, has such a special place in my heart. And also, I don't know, I just felt like a little tug that was something important that a lot of people need to hear. So I do hope that you followed along with me, and if you didn't, that's okay. I always put it up on the screen anyway. If you want to keep following along, just in case, the episode doesn't end up coming out on a certain time or whatever, you can definitely follow up on my Instagram at Orchids Podcast or at Orchids Pod. And I usually post like my little devotionals and stuff. So if you guys want to follow along, if you want to like and subscribe under this one, if you're watching on YouTube, that would be awesome. And I thank so much. I thank you all. I'm very grateful that I actually get to talk about these things with all of you, and that you guys are so receptive and loving. I love the community that we've built. I hope that it keeps growing in Jesus' name. And thank you. I hope you all have a great beginning of the week. Yeah, because it comes out on Sunday. So I hope, since November is almost done, you can end off your month in a great way, in a restful way. And I'll see you guys later. Love y'all so much. Bye.